In the previous chapter, the battle between Jack Hanma and Pickle reached a critical point. Jack unleashed his devastating move, the German suplex with impressive speed and power, repeatedly slamming the primitive man against the arena floor. Pickle, unable to respond, showed clear signs of weakness as the audience watched in amazement at how the cyborg dominated the fight. Jack practically dragged Pickle around the arena, using that powerful move again and again. The narrator highlights Jack's flawless technique, noting how he uses all his strength and weight to perform multiple consecutive suplexes, leaving Pickle practically immobile. In a shocking moment, Jack breaks one of the arena's barriers with his opponent's body, causing spectators to worry about the prehistoric warrior who could no longer resist. Baki, Hanayama, and Mitsunari merely observe how events played out. They could no longer predict what would happen. Now they were simply spectators. When it seemed the fight was over, Jack adopts a new stance, moving his fists in an intimidating way that produces sounds reminiscent of biting. Finally, he leaves the match with a triumphant gesture, making it clear he has claimed victory. The chapter ends with the announcement that Jack has successfully taken his revenge with total dominance. The new chapter opens with a close-up of the crowd, astonished by what they've just witnessed. Their faces show amazement and excitement, while cheers erupt throughout the Colosseum. Spectators in the stands wonder if that was truly the end of the fight. Although Jack declared himself the winner, the narrator had yet to make it official. In the arena, Jack stands with swollen muscles and bulging veins, the sensation of victory coursing through him. The cyborg is proclaiming his triumph without waiting for the referee. The bandages on his limbs and the battle scars confirm the intensity of the fight, and he appears stronger than ever, fed by the energy of the fans in that Colosseum. The crowd watches him with a mix of admiration and bewilderment. Some debate whether it's really all over, while others applaud his overwhelming victory. Jack, focused, closes his eyes, and, as if absorbing each of those cheers, lets the atmosphere envelop him. The narrator suggests that he feeds on that ovation, letting the applause sink into his skin and tensing every fiber of his body. We then see Jack striking an imposing pose in the middle of the arena. His musculature looks even more defined, and a dense cloud of jubilation seems to surround him entirely, as though all the crowd's energy were converging directly onto him. Jack lifts his gaze, and the gleam in his eyes reveals that he continues to absorb this collective energy. However, the narrator bursts in with an exclamation of surprise, directing everyone's attention to another part of the combat area. Pickle, his body worn down and half his face visibly injured, begins to stand up unexpectedly. The murmuring in the stands grows louder. Some gasp in astonishment after seeing how this primitive man can rise again, following the series of attacks from Jack. The entire Colosseum is on tenterhooks. Jack remains motionless, watching as his opponent stands up once more, defying the wounds marking his body. Pickle turns his head with a confused expression, almost unrecognizable because of the blows, yet revealing a trace of determination in his smile. The crowd can't contain its amazement at the scene, two titans refusing to fall. Some wonder if there might be yet another round in this fight. After getting back on his feet, Pickle slightly lifts his head and unexpectedly shows a grin resembling a smile. The stunned audience murmurs in confusion, questioning whether that smile is one of satisfaction or fury. Jack's expression grows serious as he regards his opponent, whose face is half injured yet displaying that apparent joy. The narrator emphasizes the irony. Pickle is smiling at the man who wanted to finish him off, revealing a peculiar respect or gratitude toward his adversary. Then, to everyone's surprise, Pickle raises his hand with its long, dangerous claws. The movement is slow, almost careful, as if he intends to reach for something or someone. Jack, without stepping back, keeps his gaze fixed, wondering what this prehistoric man's next move will be. The narrator concludes the scene by pointing out that, despite the prior brutality of the fight, Pickle's gesture appears unexpectedly gentle, truly the softest act of the entire evening. The caveman extends his hand, fearsome claws and all, and clasps it with Jack's in a grip that stuns all who are present. The crowd can only react with disbelief. For a moment, the Colosseum's tension vanishes, replaced by a nearly emotional sense of wonder. The narrator remarks that this gesture is more reminiscent of two lovers holding hands than a combat grip. Many in the crowd watch with bewilderment and even a certain tenderness, while Baki views the scene with a mixture of perplexity and curiosity. Thus, both warriors remain bound by a handshake far removed from the brutality they've shown until now, leaving the audience in suspense about what might happen in the moments to come. Pickle, his voice barely audible and his teeth showing, utters what appear to be words addressed to the cyborg, words in which he yields victory to Jack Hanma. The crowd is left stunned upon realizing that this man from the Cretaceous era has spoken. Immediately, Pickle releases the grip and turns around, leaving the battlefield while keeping that enigmatic smile. The narrator points out that after letting go of Jack's hand, only a warm memory remains on the cyborg's skin. Among the masses, the astonishment is unanimous. Some celebrate with victorious shouts for Jack, while others remain perplexed, trying to process what they've just witnessed. The last panels show Pickle from behind, walking away with a steady stride and a slight curve in his lips, like a silent acknowledgement of the winner. Thus, the chapter concludes, implying that for Pickle, the match has had a clear outcome. Jack stands as the victor. It was the first time the caveman acknowledged defeat with a smile. Well, friends, I don't know about you, but I was left wanting more, and when I say more, I mean more fight development. I stand by my opinion that Pickle should have put up more resistance and offered a tougher challenge for Jack. The thing is, after Jack's crushing victory, I find it hard to see anyone giving him a run for his money, of course. That's if we exclude Baki and Yujiro. Looking back a bit, after Jack's relentless final combo, which left Pickle knocked out in front of a powerless Baki and company, it seemed there was no more story to tell. Jack's victory pose, with those muscles about to burst, was the expected confirmation of his win, reminiscent of his triumph against Nomi, where he celebrated in the same way. But then, Pickle left everyone speechless. We expected one last charge, a display of his wild resilience. Instead, what we got was a puzzling smile. What did it mean? Was it a recognition of Jack's power? A strange way of showing he enjoyed the fight? Or perhaps a quiet acceptance of his defeat? Personally, I'm inclined to think that smile had a hint of relief. Let's recall the humiliation he felt when cornered by Baki, an apparently inferior rival. Against Jack, on the other hand, he seems to have found an adversary who reminds him of the beasts he once fought, an enemy whose physical superiority is unquestionable. Jack's own surprise at Pickle's smile says it all. He seems unsettled by that sign of respect. Maybe in Pickle's ancestral mind, he has finally found a worthy rival. Someone who pushed him to his limit and surpassed him without a hint of doubt. A warrior arrived who's just as big and strong. Perhaps that made him reflect, and who knows, maybe we'll see him training in the future to improve. The culmination comes with Pickle's words, yielding the victory. It's the second time we see him speak, which might indicate some evolution, an adaptation to this new world. I believe this gesture marks a before and after for Pickle. Maybe he'll start to understand humans better, to interact in a more complex way. Or perhaps it's simply his genuine, primitive way of acknowledging a stronger warrior. Now then, how will this victory affect Jack? Will it be enough to quench his thirst for combat, or will it drive him to seek a new challenge soon? Leave your opinions in the comment box. What do you think of this ending? Did you expect such a peculiar reaction from Pickle? And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.